I'm so excited. The man, the myth, the legend finally shows his face in this video. But despite this, something feels off. I've known him as the unhinged, chaotic character from all the memes I've seen, but from what I saw in these 2 chapters, he's quite serious, and even has an air of sadness surrounding his character. I need to know, what turns him into the Mad Dog of Shimano? We begin chapter 3 in Sotenbori, as we seem to focus on the Grand Cabaret. For those who don't know, a cabaret club is a place that usually serves liquor while providing some kind of theatrical entertainment, with music, dance, or even stuff like drama. They often make their money through patrons, who are sat at tables and given company by a hostess. Basically someone who provides a social interaction for the patrons, and essentially convinces them to buy drinks, which are usually marked up quite a bit from their original price. Suddenly, one of the patrons starts trouble, harassing a hostess. A waiter tries to get him to stop, but the patron pushes him down violently. The manager turns up, and he introduces himself as Goro Majima. He asks the thug to refrain from touching and acts of violence, which only causes the guy to throw a tantrum in response, saying that he should stop him by force. Goro says he can't do that because of his policy. The customer is king. So the thug pours a drink on him, trying to get a rise out of Goro. But he just thanks him, stating that he always loved that brand, so much so that he even wished to bathe in it. The thug is naturally taken aback by this, and swings at him, but Goro dodges everything with ease. Goro repeats his earlier request, but the thug still doesn't comply, and no amount of describing what happens next will do Goro justice, so I'll let the scene play out for you guys.
しゃあないのう。ああ、一丁ケーキのやれや。そこまでお客様がお望みなら、この真島、僭越ながらお相手いたしましょう。ただし、私からは一切手出しはいたしません。何しろ、お客様は神様ですから。まだそんなこと抜かすかい。なめおって。さあ、ショータイムや。
This man is so cool. I wish I was even half as badass as him. Our job in this fight is to tire the customer out without retaliating. I get hit immediately because I'm a pro gamer. Not really. But the rest of the fight goes well. After the fight sequence, the thug tries to stab Goro with an ice pick, but Goro just does his thing, disarming him. The crowd applauds Goro, and finally some help arrives, and they restrain the man. Instead of reporting him to the police, he suggests for the guy to make amends by paying for everyone for the rest of the night, sparing him from losing his job and his life. He even gets on his hands and knees, begging the crowd to let him do this. They erupt in approval of Goro's decision to spare the man. I bet this guy feels so bad for what he did now. After that whole scene, we cut to Goro walking out onto the rooftop, and we see him in a more calm manner as he smokes a bit, observing the city around him. He goes back inside and sorts out some managerial tasks, and finds out one of the customers is abusing the free drinks for the night, ordering an absurd amount of drinks. Goro recognizes him apparently, and asks to speak to him in the back. The customer complies, and we find out that Goro is working to get back into the Tojo clan, and that the customer is Tsukasa Sagawa, the patriarch of the Sagawa family, and apparently part of a Yakuza group we haven't heard of before, the Omi Alliance. Goro needs to gather 100 million yen total in order for Sagawa to talk to Shimano, Goro's old patriarch, and convince him to let Goro back into the Tojo clan. On a whim, he adds 500 million more yen for Goro to earn for him, which naturally angers him, causing Goro to almost punch him. He holds back, declaring that he'll do anything to get back into the Yakuza. Sagawa then asks him if he'd even do a hit for him, which catches Goro off guard. Sagawa says to not worry and that he was just joking, but warns him that he might have to do something like that one day. Just as he's about to leave, he tells Goro that he's transferring Noriko, Goro's #1 girl at the Grand Cabaret, to a different club that needed help, making things even harder on him. Sagawa takes his leave, and Goro decides to poach Nozomi, another popular hostess from their strongest rival, Odyssey, in order to replace Noriko. Once he leaves the Grand Cabaret, he runs into a guy who introduces himself as Somataro Komaki, a master of a certain form of martial arts. Real specific, my dude. He doesn't really specify. He was looking for a strong opponent and noticed Goro's hunger for battle, challenging him to a fight. The game uses this fight to introduce you to Goro's thug fighting style, which seems to rely on brutal, effective attacks. Things like poking your opponent's eyes or even snapping their neck, which the game tries to call choking. That is not how choking works. Somataro somehow gets up after getting choked, supposedly, and the spar ends. We leave and finally make it to Odyssey. Goro slips in, disguising himself only by using sunglasses. He's seated and begins to scout out the bar, trying to figure out the success of his rival's club. He observes multiple things, but most concerning thing has to be this guy. Anyway, we for some reason don't question this guy much and move on with the investigation. Eventually, we're assigned Takato. I think that's how you say it. A kind hostess who tells us that Nozomi often deals with political figures or other bigwigs due to her diligence to keep up with the news and political scene. Our conversation was cut off by Yamagata, the owner of Odyssey, whose voice sounded strangely familiar to me. I looked it up and it's actually Kazuya Nakai, known for voicing many characters in anime like Zoro from One Piece, as well as Jin Sakai from Ghost of Tsushima. He reveals that he knows who Goro is, seeing past his amazing sunglasses disguise. Goro barters with him, convincing him to send over Nozomi and a few extra girls to the Grand in exchange for some money and girls from the Grand itself, who might be able to open up a new demographic of customers for Odyssey. After the trade, Goro lets his floor manager know what happened and heads over to Sotenbori Street, after getting some food and singing one of my favorite songs in the Yakuza series so far. Upon leaving the bar, we actually head over to Sotenbori Street this time, and run into an arms deal gone wrong. Goro watches as the thug attacks the dealer, who is only using some wooden stick he found. The thug gets absolutely schooled, and Goro learns a new fighting style watching him. With the fight done, Goro is about to leave, but runs into Komaki again, who is also watching the fight. We find out that Komaki knows the dealer, Feihu, personally, and has Goro fight him, to test his strength further. Goro picks a weapon to fight with nearby, and chooses a simple baseball bat, starting the fight. The new style is the slugger style, which seems to be useful for clearing a group of enemies and fending off attacks with its strong blocking ability. We win the fight as usual and earn Fei's approval. Fei invites us to his shop and we follow, learning that it is both a Chinese restaurant as well as a front for his weapons store. He lets us know how his business works and we leave and end up triggering a new sub-story. There's a girl standing outside of an arcade all alone, and Goro can't help but be worried that she might get into trouble since this part of town is shady, and tries to go get her to go back to her parents, with no success at all. We have to leave that sub-story unfinished for now, and I find a fishing minigame. I'm so bad at this minigame. I have probably around 20 to 30 minutes of footage for this scene with nothing to show for it. Not a single bite even. Probably because I didn't read and realized I needed bait. God, I'm so dumb. After that waste of time, we reach the back alley where our apartment is, and some guys from Odyssey pick a fight with us, angry that we took Nozomi away from them. They bring up his customer is king policy, saying how pathetic he is for it, and Goro says that he does do that for customers, but also mentions that they aren't customers, and that he doesn't have to hold back against them at all. We take care of them easily, using both slugger and thug style, and finally head into our apartment. Upon entering his apartment, he sets his stuff down and lights a smoke, looking out his window, and we're shown what seems to be people keeping tabs on him at all times. Goro seems to think that this city is a prison, even wishing to be free of its walls. We end chapter 3 there, and chapter 4 begins with a flashback 3 years ago, Goro bringing a bag full of guns into his apartment. 36 shots worth, specifically, to take out someone named Yoshiharu Ueno. He's there scheming with someone he calls his bro, but we have no name drop yet. We then cut to a different scene, with Goro talking to someone named Shibata, who apparently knows about the raid Goro planned with his bro, whose name is revealed to be Saejima. Shibata warns Goro to not follow through with it, but Goro says he has no choice because Saejima is already on his way there and refuses to betray him. Shibata calls in some reinforcements and Goro is restrained, getting chained to an iron beam, where he gets his left eye stabbed out. He wakes in a new place, talking to Shimano, asking where his brother is. Shimano only says that Goro's stuck here, in what they call the hole, paying for his disobedience with torture every day. Goro doesn't care and only wants to know what happened to Saejima, but Shimano ignores him. Goro wakes up and we head over to the Grand Cabaret. We avoid what seems to be a different Mr. Shakedown and enter the club, finding out that Odyssey sent over an extra girl besides Nozomi, convincing Goro it was worth all the trouble. He then receives a call from Sagawa, dragging him out for drinks. On our way, a girl grabs our attention, suddenly asking if Goro can be her boyfriend. A new sub-story triggers, and Goro is of course surprised, telling her to take a few steps back. Goro tells her to at least let them start out as friends. She realizes that she hasn't been clear, and clarifies that she needs him to pretend to be her boyfriend actually. She explains that her father was always trying to arrange suitors for her, so she lied to him saying that she has a boyfriend already. The description she gave her father was that her boyfriend specifically is thin, wears an eye patch, has a cool ponytail, and has a dangerous air about him, kinda like the blade of a knife, which we know, conveniently, is just Goro for some reason. She begs him to just play along, and we reluctantly agree to help. We end up having to go to a restaurant to meet her dad, and we make a fake backstory before he arrives. The backstory is that they've been going out for 6 months, that Goro's a dentist who likes going out on drives and watching movies, and that his favorite food is the omelet rice that Coco, the girl, makes. I memorized this as fast as I could, assuming I'd need it for some questions later. Coco's father appears and the interrogation begins. They introduce each other and we manage to answer all the questions correctly, impressing her father with our politeness. And we even seem to convince him that we're a real couple. Eventually Coco leaves for the restroom and we're left alone with her father. He reveals that he knew all along that Goro was just playing along with his daughter, and we confess, no point hiding it anymore. He says he knows his daughter well and could tell by the way she was acting that it was all a ruse. He tells us that ever since his wife passed away, he's been overprotective of her, and that this little stunt has made him realize that he should probably give her some space and let her make her own decisions. We step outside after talking a bit more with Coco and her father. Coco rewards us with 5 pieces of fluorite, don't know what those are for, and before we can leave, her father approaches us, asking us one last thing. Turns out, he wants Goro to legitimately date his daughter, which of course Goro is shocked to hear. He says Goro is the ideal man and begs him more, even offering for Goro to become his boyfriend instead, if he won't become Coco's. With that bizarre interaction out of the way, we end another sub-story. We take our leave and run into the little girl in front of the arcade again, this time with 2 shady looking men behind her, one of them even having that handsome Squidward jawline. We of course have to go save her and approach the scumbags, which leads to a fight. We start off strong with Doug style, smashing this man's head against the wall repeatedly. We get shanked 3 times in a row because I'm bad, and switch to Slugger style, playing a lot better now, and proceed to end them quickly. The men run away and we approach the girl, telling her to go home, but she won't listen, saying she wants the red chestnut the squirrel doll from one of the crane games inside the arcade. The conversation ends shortly after, and I decide to run inside and win it real quick for her on the first try. I know that might be hard to believe, but you gotta just trust that I did. We run out and give it to her, which of course makes her happy, and she finally heads home. Finally, we make it to the park to meet up with Sagawa, who's waiting at a little booth. Goro sits down with him, reluctantly, and Sagawa orders him some food, also pouring out a drink for him. Goro takes a drink slowly, and there's an awkward silence for a bit. Some time passes, and they finally start talking again. Sagawa brings up how Goro somehow survived a year in the hole, still questioning why Shimano even let him out and put him under his command. Sagawa asks Goro why he's so desperate to even get back into the Tojo clan, and Goro just states that he has to get back into the clan, so he can wait for Saejima to come back and kill him once he somehow escapes prison. Sagawa questions why he'd even do all that just for one guy, but changes the subject eventually. He asks Goro if he can kill a human being, implying that he needs a hit to be done. Goro is surprised, but listens. The hit is Makoto Makimura, the ringleader of a prostitution gig in Sultanbori. If the girls try to leave, he beats them within an inch of their life, instead of letting them go. Goro learns some intel that he has his girls pick up guys from telephone clubs, so he should start his search there. He's given a number to call once he's done with the job. Before he leaves, Sagawa warns Goro that murder will change him, no matter what kind of person he offs. We head back to Goro's apartment and head to bed. In the morning, we leave to go see if we can get in contact with one of Makoto's girls at a telephone club. After 90 minutes of calls, Goro finally finds a promising call. The girl is young enough to be part of Makoto's group, and expresses an interest in tattoos, which Goro links to her maybe being linked to criminal activity. Goro said it, not me. He convinces her to meet up with him, once he finds out she actually does know Makoto. We run into, this guy from earlier, at the Odyssey, the guy who's air humping. For the sake of avoiding how creepy this man is, we're gonna skip past this conversation, but if you know, you know. We leave to go meet Ako, the girl on call from earlier at Iwa Bridge. Upon meeting her, we find she's really on edge, so Goro decides to pretend to be a celebrity, offering his autograph too so she can loosen up. They agree to go grab a bite of sushi at a restaurant and talk while there. Goro chats her up a bit and finds out she doesn't even sell the goods. Clearly something isn't adding up here since he heard differently from Sagawa. Apparently Makoto even pops up to help the girls ASAP if they're in danger during a date. Instead of opening up more, she bugs Goro to go to the arcade once they're done at the restaurant. We have to win a toy for her at one of the crane games and succeed after a few tries, but not much else happens. After the arcade, she then bugs him to go to the disco club, even reserving the VIP room. On our way there seems to be a fight starting on Iwa Bridge, and we find out that it's actually two dance crews about to have a dance-off. Goro watches the dance-off with Komeki, who happens to be there too, and it seems we've learned yet another style watching it. Once things settle down, I upgrade our abilities a bit and hustle over to the club. While in the VIP room, we find out from Akko that Makoto is apparently a really strong, tall, and muscly man, which naturally worries Goro a bit. Akko leaves for the dance floor to go have some fun, but she runs into some creeps looking to get revenge on her because she called Makoto to help her out one day. Goro intervenes and they take it outside, giving us a chance to try out our new fighting style, breaker style. This is without a doubt my favorite style in the whole game so far. It's a style that uses breakdancing to beat everyone up. It's got speed, chaotic widespread attacks, and a lot of style. We destroy them by breakdancing them to death, because that makes sense. Akko then thanks us, even letting us know exactly where Makoto is, and letting us know about a favor he has all his girls help with too. Apparently, Makoto is looking for a man with a bat tattoo on his back, but for now that means nothing to Goro. We part ways and head on over to Makoto, who apparently works at a clinic nearby. We arrive and Goro busts in, his blade ready, but after checking around some, it turns out no one is there. Suddenly, a woman pops up, and Goro approaches her but quickly finds out she's actually blind, and he avoids her, clinging to the wall, giving us this beautiful expression right here. He thinks he's safe, but the phone rings and she 180s to go get it and bumps into him, freaking her out. He convinces her that he's just a customer and ends up getting stuck getting some treatment from her. He lays on one of the nearby beds, getting a massage from her, and she comments on how stiff he is, asking what his job could be, since he seems so stressed. Goro explains he works at the Grand, but eventually gets her to open up about her boss, and all he finds out is that he seems to be a kind and gentle guy, still different from the rumors he heard from Sagawa. Eventually the girl leaves to go get him a pillow and Makoto turns up. He greets the girl and finds Goro, giving him a suspicious look. It's obvious that he knows what Goro is there for, and stops him from grabbing his knife by throwing an acupuncture needle at him. He sends the girl out to grab some smokes for him, and once she leaves, he gives Goro a chance to walk away and leave. But of course he refuses, and a fight ensues. I'm sure this guy was extremely tough, but with the breaker style, I just Beybladed my way to victory, making sure to dodge whatever his god hand technique was. A few Beyblades later, and the fight's interrupted by some Yakuza walking in. It's revealed that the guy we've been fighting isn't actually Makoto, but a guy named Wenhei Lee, simply pretending to be Makoto. Makoto turns out to actually be the blind girl who shows up during this whole mess. Lee tries to save her but is shot down with a pistol, wounded. The Yakuza kidnap Makoto, and before we can chase after her, the three remaining Yakuza try to stop us. But Lee throws a needle, stopping them from shooting us. He's shot for his action, hopefully still alive, and we begin a fight with the Yakuza, once again Beyblading our way to victory. This is bad. I'm having too much fun with this ridiculous style. I think I'm going to be using this a bit too much. After the fight, we run outside, pursuing the others who kidnap Makoto and rescue her. Backup arrives, and we have to sneak our way to safety, all while protecting her. We blend into the crowd every now and then to hide, and eventually make it to some stairs leading to the riverside. Unfortunately, the Yakuza we fought earlier catches up to us, and we're forced to fight them again. Same guys, same story, Beyblade to win, and we manage to escape, with the guy with the pistol warning Goro that he doesn't know what he's getting himself into. Goro and Makoto finally get into an alleyway, hidden. She clings to Goro, terrified and confused, and Goro contemplates killing her right then and there, even pulling out his knife. But before we can see what he decides to do, Chapter 4 ends. Goro has always been a meme in the community from what I can tell, so I was expecting a lot more goofiness from his side of the story. But if anything, it's been even darker. His origin so far has been full of nothing but pain and suffering, having to leave his sworn brother alone to fend for himself, losing his left eye, enduring torture for a year, and being forced to work his butt off to get back into the Tojo clan, even being told to kill someone seemingly completely innocent. It kind of saddens me, to be honest. I want to know what drives him to break and become the crazy chaotic character that I've been shown in so many memes. Hopefully he gets some kind of compensation for his pain, but we'll just have to see, I guess. I hope you all enjoyed these 2 chapters. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.